Okay, I'm now joined by industry legend Peter Molyneux. Thanks for joining us today, Peter. You had a pretty big announcement earlier in the week at Gamescom. Can you give us a little bit of a...
Yeah, I mean, I got to stand on stage and people had to listen to me for 45 minutes talking about Fable 3 and the fact that we were making Fable 3, and I was talking about, some of the premises for Fable 3. We also talked about this new thing which is called episodic, is that we broke Fable 2 down into episodes and we're releasing that at the end of September. People can download the first episode absolutely free, and when they get to the end of that episode, while in game, they can just go, oh, okay, I'll have the next episode and pay points for it. So those were the two major announcements.
Sure. Why did you kind of come to that decision to decide you release it episodically? And I guess, do you think that's maybe a trend that other publishers might decide to do in the future?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, here's the thing: is that me as a creative person, I think it's really interesting to try and to give your content in more bite-sized chunks, and I find that very interesting. I mean, I think this is a change that's generally happening in the industry, and as digital comes online, gosh knows what the implications for the wider industry is. I just don't think go there. I just think about it. I just think it's a nice thing to be able to do, for people, especially this idea of, hey, why not try the first 45 minutes of gameplay absolutely free, and then to be able to continue playing rather than go back to the start if you buy everything else. So it was, it's a creative thing that we can do, and it's always good to push innovation. And,
sure.
Sometimes that innovation is in gameplay, sometimes the innovation is, the way people get that big gameplay. Yeah.
Sure. One of the, I guess the focuses in your keynote was about kind of touch in Fable 3, and you kind of talked about that quite a bit. Was that alluding to something with Project Natal, or was that...
It definitely wasn't an announcement that Natal is in any way in a Fable. That wasn't an announcement at that point. It was rather saying that, and here's the interesting point, I think it's my experiences as a designer with Natal, I want to bring you, the player, closer to the characters in the game, and a lot of the time we, as sort of, when we're making games, there is this kind of barrier between you, what the character you play, and other characters in the world, and touch is an amazingly important thing. When you walked in the room, I shook your hand, and it's that physical touch that's there, and we're using touch a huge amount in Fable 3.
Sure. And one of the other big features is judgments, isn't it? Can you tell us a little bit about how that came about?
Yeah, so here's the thing, is I think one of the big unique things about Fable 3 is that it doesn't follow the same formula that many games and films and books follow, which is basically, you start off as a sort of a low character and you build yourself up, and there's some baddie and you defeat the baddie, credits roll, end of experience, and that applies to games and films and books. What fascinates me is, why not continue allowing you to play, continue the story, continue the intrigue when you are the ruler of this place called Albion. When you become that ruler, that's when choices and consequences and decisions and being able to change things because you have power, it gets really interesting, and so we're flying through on that. Now, to do that, many people have asked me, well, does that mean it turns into some strategy game and you're pouring through spreadsheets or just in numbers? No, you still have all the abilities you have in the first part of the game. You're still, a heroic character, you're still able to fight, you're still able to lead, your armies, very personally. But we needed a new mechanic called judgments, and that judgment mechanic is you're a ruler, and people come before you, and they'll say, a great king or a great queen, we need your decision on this. And at any point during that process, you can say, right, I have decided the fate of this person is for them to be locked in the dungeon, or the fate of this person is they should be given a vast amounts of gold. And you can do that at any time. You are completely free to use your touch mechanics that you have to be able to grab this person who's kneeling before you by the collar and throw them off a balcony if you want, or grab them and take them down to your treasure rooms. And that emotional side of it is very important. And what judgments really allow is they allow you to get personally involved in any of the aspects of ruling. So if you want to go and visit somewhere, you use a judgment to do that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love the idea how you can take your Fable 2 save games and kind of bring that into Fable 3.
Yes.
How does that affect the experience, and kind of, I guess, what's the trade-off with that? Say as opposed to someone who's basically playing Fable for the first time with Fable 3?
Yeah, if you're playing Fable with for the first time, this feature, you know, you would just not be aware of. But if we detect a Fable 2 save game, Fable 2 achievement, we will, you know, import some aspects of what you were like in Fable 2. You know, expect there to be some carryover. You can choose not to import that, by the way, just in case you think, well, this time I'm going to be good rather than horribly evil. Yeah. But, you know, I think there is a fascination for me about this continuation of your story and, you know, moving on, and, you know, I think that's fascinating.
Okay, brilliant. Well, we better leave it there, but thanks a lot for your time, and Fable 3 is coming out 2010, is that right?
2010, yeah, that narrows it down to at least a year.
Okay, brilliant. Well, there you go. Thanks a lot for your time.